So continuing the topic of secret societies and biblical prophecy and the scriptures, you watch everything that's going on and you continue to study it from an open-minded perspective. And you see all the pieces that they're positioning falling right into place. And like I said, again, the deeper you dig into it, the further you go, the more it just leads you straight to God. And you can't help but realize there are very evil forces in very high places, working night and day around the clock.
Pay attention, this one gets deep. We live in a world that has an agenda. You're being programmed every single day through your unconscious mind. We call this the Matrix. Here's what you need to know. The thing about human beings is you have this divine power or gift that you can actually manipulate and create your world through quantum physics. But here's the issue. You have been distracted. See, the way the program works is they have to keep you distracted. So how do they do it? They do it this way. By creating entertainment, by creating sports, by creating the media, by creating amusement parks, by creating anything to keep your mind from thinking outright. They can't have you think critically. They can't have you freely think. See, the thing about human beings is, if you could focus and realize the power you have, it goes against the Matrix. So they have to keep you distracted. They have to feed you with what's called a trance, a constant entertainment which drives the mind to create ADH, which drives the mind to create anxiety. This is why all these things exist. Entertainment is designed to keep you away from thinking about your true self. It's designed so that you can't think, because what happens is when you start to think, the answers start to come to you, point blank. Once you realize that, wait, I literally have the ability to manipulate this world because it's actually immaterial, they don't tell you that. Quantum physics discovered that years ago. It's not even in textbooks. Schools still have Newtonian physics books. You see, you have to look at the big picture here. You cannot be a deliberate creator of your reality. It will destroy the Matrix. The Matrix needs bots. It needs supporters. It needs do what I say. That's what the Matrix needs. It doesn't need free thinkers. It doesn't need awakened people. It doesn't need spiritual people. It doesn't need chosen ones, because this goes against the Matrix agenda. Remember, this goes deep.
Starting to see, as we're seeing virtually as the months go by, other groups that can be involved, and seeing it in children is really quite disturbing.
When you say other close contact, give me some examples.
Well, for example, if the close contact of a child is a household contact, perhaps there will be a certain number of cases of individuals who are just living with and in close contact with someone with AIDS or at risk of AIDS, who does not necessarily have to have intimate sexual contact or share a needle, but just the ordinary close contact.
So in a very minor collaboration as part of a subcontract of a grant, we had a collaboration with some Chinese scientists.
So we're here to rise above that. And I also want you to know, spoiler alert, freedom wins.
There's biological sex, and then there is gender identity. Part of me wants to ask why you care so much, because it's really not that big of a deal.
Oh, yeah. Can I answer that? I'd love to answer that question. I care about the truth. So basic truth matters. I want to live in a society where people care about the truth and we're grounded in truth. Right. I care about children, and these insane ideas about gender are being foisted on kids, and that bothers me quite a bit. I care about the women who are having their opportunities stolen from them. I care quite a bit.
May I ask,
want to engage in.
Where are the Satan club's trained educators trained? Is there a Satan School of Theology?
No, we've got educators who have volunteered with us. We vet them. We do the criminal background checks that aren't required of after-school clubs and haven't been required of any of the religious clubs because we want to be responsible about this. And we make sure that they understand the curriculum, they understand what we want to do in this program, and that they're able to execute that.
So, I love your use of the word execute.
Gorgeous, gorgeous girls wear their negative COVID tests as earrings.
Put your hands in there. Put your hands in there. I'm working. Squeeze her.
Get 6 feet away from me, you stupid bitch!
I'm talking to you.
Get away from me now! No mask, get out!
The number one similarity in every single one of these videos, the number one common factor is what? Fear. 100%. Every single one of these people are afraid. So it leaves them, it controls their behavior. They comply. They do whatever you want. And in some cases, like in mass formation psychosis theory, they defend. They go after people. They get aggressive. You can control their behavior to do what you want them to do.
I think it's human dignity. People forget.
So how to restore this dignity?
I think the solution is definitely better morals, going back to what truth is, going back to what our founding fathers proposed, and that is that we hear everybody's opinions, we come to compromises and solutions based upon truth.
Pro-life advocates by the thousands gathered in our nation's capital today, walking in the 49th annual March for Life. We find out what ideas they have for protecting the unborn. In September, President Biden announced that 3.5 million federal employees would be required to get vaccinated or lose their jobs. Now, a federal judge in Texas has blocked the mandate nationwide. A historic investment in American semiconductor manufacturing. Intel will spend $20 billion to build what could become the world's largest chip plant in Ohio. And California is proposing to allow minors 12 and older to get the COVID-19 vaccine without parental consent. A few months ago, President Biden announced that 3.5 million federal employees would be required to get vaccinated or lose their jobs. Today, a federal judge has blocked that mandate nationwide. NTD's Jason Perry has the story.
Well, good afternoon, everyone. The only exception to President Biden's vaccine mandate for federal employees was for those who received medical or religious exemptions, which have been hard to come by. U.S. District Judge Jeffrey Brown, who was appointed by then-President Donald Trump, worked expeditiously to make the ruling on the case, only about a month after it was filed. Brown made the ruling on the same day federal employees could have been disciplined for not being vaccinated. Robert Henneke, Executive Director and General Counsel for the Texas Public Policy Foundation, said the Biden administration didn't have the authority they claimed to enforce vaccine mandates.
The government pointed to 3 statutes that it argued gave it authority. And very methodically, Judge Brown walked through each of the statutes that were claimed by the Biden administration as giving it the authority to do this. And he examined, said each of those 3 statutes doesn't say you can do this. And so you're seeing that as a common characteristic. The Biden administration is issuing these sweeping mandates just on its own. When they're being challenged in court, they're trying to point to some kind of vague statute to say that this arguably could give them the power to do so. And judges are correctly examining the text of the statute and saying, no, Congress never gave you this authority.
Ma, you see this?
No. Holy.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. وش ذا؟ بسم الله. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. بسم الله. بسم الله. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم.
Look at this. Maybe that's a new plane.
friggin' UFOs are the Coast Guard's. If I want us in, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 lights we see there. They've been coming on, they were 7 lights.
And that's why we can never escape this system until we put all of that thinking down. It doesn't matter what Trump's going to do. It doesn't matter what any president or any politician is going to do. If people still think economically, if people still think that this society is normal, that it should function this way, that we need to do the things that we're doing, then there's no hope for us. If we're going to continue to support these cities that we live in, which are designed to separate people and to make them completely dependent upon the system. You can't grow your own food, you can't ever survive on your own in a city. It's a jungle, and it's designed to be that way, both physically and mentally. Everything about the cities is jungle mentality. Survival of the fittest, only the things that you need for you to survive are not there. Unless you can exploit someone else and get the paper you need to pay to be alive to go and buy these things from some establishment, there's nothing there in your environment that you can actually use to create a life for yourself. It's all economically based. It's simply not the natural habitat of humans. Humans shouldn't be living in these cities. They don't serve us in any way, shape or form. And if you look at the way cities were constructed back in the past cultures, they very much seem to be designed in a way that would serve the people and that would benefit the people, even possibly heal the people, as we've just been previously discussing. Now you look at all this stuff and you see just what we had and just what we are capable of doing. And I don't know, I find it incredibly empowering to think about this. And I find it inspiring, I find it healing. As I've said many times before, even looking at all this information and all of the stuff that we've got coming to us, ultimately what we're facing here is a spiritual battle. That's why they do everything they do to us to keep us down. That's why there's so much negative stuff around it, and that's why it's all done this way, folks, and it's all about divide and conquer. And I see a lot of this in the truth movement as well. I see people who make their whole channels designed on analysing what other people say so they can microanalyze each sentence and throw it back at them and create distrust. And we really need to put all of this stuff down and realise that we are in a state of clear and present danger, and the reality is that we've been lied to on all counts, so we can sit there and argue about the details till the cows come home. And it's not going to make any difference. We're still heading towards this same police state if we don't deal with this system, face the reality around us, unite with each other, respect each other, allow people to disagree, allow people to think differently, and turn and face the system. And the way you turn and face the system, folks, is simply by withdrawing support from it. Start building strong ties in your community and helping people around you. Start putting in community gardens and start asking why. Start asking questions. When government and politicians ask you to do things, ask them why. That would be a great start. People are just going to know what they're told. People are just going to know the history that they're given. And if people are brought to a strange country when they're a child and they grow up there, they're just going to believe whatever they're fed to explain how they got there to them. They're not really going to know what history is. So it isn't so far-fetched when you think about this. And the information about the foundling trains and the orphan trains is very, very compelling and very important information. And it is a huge piece of the puzzle. All the world is a stage, ladies and gentlemen. I've said it so many times. And much of the independent media and so-called truth community is a stage as well, I think. I mean, there's a lot of good people out there. There's a lot of people that are attempting to make a difference, but there's a lot of infiltration as well. I mean, there's a lot of people just out there yelling out that the sky is falling and spreading fear, fear, fear every day. A lot of people are tending to spread distrust, contrarians out there to just plant that seed of doubt in people's minds. And really, you know, with all the information that you look at, all the information you look at on YouTube and everything that you come across, everything that I say, everything that everybody says, you've got to understand that what we're looking at is people's perspective based on the information they've had and the opinion that they've formed from looking at that information. You know, everything that I bring you on the shows is my perspective on that which I have had access to and my analysis of that data. That's the same as everybody. Anybody who says they know the truth and that they have got the answer and that they are the way and the light, these people are leading you astray. What they're offering you is their perspective. That's all anybody has to offer. That's all anybody ever will have to offer. And as far as what this reality is, what this realm we live in could be, what this system of control is really leading to, all we can do is speculate because we are not free enough to know any of that information. And what this is really all about is attempting to establish that freedom, because that freedom exists within the hearts and minds of the people, which is why this is a spiritual battle more than anything else. Now, it's like I said, people are in a trance. They're just walking around in a daze and they don't know what to do. They're caught on the treadmill. They're just walking and running and collecting this paper and trying to find some form of security and some form of peace somewhere. And they sometimes realize the system is corrupt, the system is what it is, but they don't know how to get out of it because they don't realize the answer is in themselves. And people are scared to unite with the people around them. They're scared to ever really show the true self that they are. You know, the women that we've got in the world today that are so brutalized by this system, told they have to look beautiful, told they have to be this and do that and enhance their bodies with all sorts of things that they really don't need, rather than just living the experience and being themselves and being the beautiful experience and the beautiful soul of creation that they are. And it's the same with the men. The men are told they have to be all this stuff and do all these things and have all these responsibilities and make all this money and be the breadwinner and be this and be that. Nobody can actually live their lives because they're too caught up in all this stuff that they're told they have to do, that they are judged by if they don't do. Now, what would you do if you didn't have to work and collect this paper to be alive? What would you be able to create? Think of the things you could do. Think of the things we could build if we weren't so busy doing all of this stuff, running around like little rats in a maze, collecting all this paper and doing all this stuff that we think is important when it isn't. None of it is important. You know, we look at this and we think, well, we're in a bad situation. President Trump's going to come along and fix us, or some politicians are going to fix us, some new government, some this, some that is going to come and fix the problem. Really, the problem is in ourselves. You know, it's in ourselves, and it's in our need to attack everybody around us and question everybody around us and attack everybody for even having an opinion or a perspective. And like I say, microanalyze every sentence everybody says and look for something that may be out of sync with your line of thinking and then throw it back at them and cast as much distrust of these people as you can, simply because you disagree with some opinion they had on something.
You know, it's very important now that we slow down and we stop letting ourselves be so divided and turned against each other. You really want to see a change. The change starts within each one of us, each individual. We can all change ourselves, and that has an overall effect on the world. You know, there's so much stuff bombarding our minds. Everywhere we turn, there's so much to process. And I'm telling you, take it all to God and let Him process it and expose it and make clarity of it for you. I got one more thing I want to leave you with to conclude this video.
That before His being taken up, He was pleasing God. Now, He didn't who witnessed this? God witnessed this. God witnessed and saw that this man was pleasing. Now, here's something very important to the carnal Christian. There is no such thing, but people who call themselves Christians, though they live in carnality. Here's something very important. There is a doctrine out there that seems to say that men get saved, yet they never really grow in the Lord. They never have a passion for the Lord. They're always carnal. They never grow in sanctification. But bless God, they're saved. And then when they cross over, they're transformed when they're in heaven, and they become pleasing to God. But look at what it says about Enoch. He was pleasing to God before he was taken up. before he was taken up, he was pleasing to God.